Hello, this is LuckRail. This is the wrong side of an envelope. And this is the last time we'll be using the black background today. As you can see, today we're working on the prototype corner module from my modular system. Also, as you can see, I still haven't done any scenicking on it. Video for later. Those of you familiar with the channel will know that I really like things you can actually play with rather than just move forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards. So I really like cranes, and you will be unsurprised to know that I also really like these, the Hornby Royal Mail Wagon. You may also know, if you're into Hornby, that they've announced that this is finally getting rerun this year. But there's a problem. And that problem is down here. This wagon is essentially a design from the 1980s, and as a result, it has the 1950s couplings that existed long before the world of NEM 362 or 363. What that means is, well, even this old one will happily run on my modern Cato Unitrack, but it won't couple to any of my stuff, because I use KD couplings. So what do we do about this? Well, it turns out there's sort of a simple solution. Enter another Hornby Railroad coach. Another Mark I even. This is the Hornby Railroad Mark I, fairly standard basic one. This one's obviously in the dark crimson livery, which rail fans of proper type will complain that I don't know the name of. As you can see, it has the worst kind of NEM pocket, this weird sort of British wedge and tail thing, but it is an NEM pocket, it works. You know, you obviously have a coupling in here that I can, with little care, pull out. I don't want to break it. But if we think about this logically, these clip in, these clip in. So why couldn't I just take these Mark I clip-in bogies with the NEM pockets and put them on this Mark I coach without NEM pockets? And then I would have a Royal Mail coach, which I could couple to all of my stuff. Why wouldn't we do that? So let's do it.
Needless to say, I decided to speed on through the highly complicated process of me unclipping two bogies from one coach and then clipping them back into a different coach. I promise vast critical skills are needed for this process to be completed successfully.
Job done. I now have a NEM-fitted Hornby coach. And it still has all of the mechanism stuff. And that's where this all goes wrong. Now there's a reason I'm using the curved module, and it's a really simple one. The way these coaches work is a little ramp pushes these little tabs up, and as you can see, they open the doors. But let's put it on the track and see how this works now. That's not gone well. And the reason is really simple. These are now taller than the railhead, or rather more accurately, lower than the railhead. And the reason's really simple. This fancy, more modern coach is built to tighter tolerances than this 1980s model, which means that the bogies are about 1 millimeter shorter than the ones that would have been on the old one. Which means that if you put these bogies under this coach, the whole thing is too low. And it means that the little mechanism levers foul on one of the rails. So it doesn't work. So, is Hornby entirely justified in keeping these old couplings in 2026? Hell no! Let's be candid here. These and the accompanying bogies were not expensive models. These are railroad class models, right? We're even remaking them this year. This is being sold for £60, which is not entirely unreasonable. Obviously, it's got an internal mechanism, it has the accessories that you clip to the track to make it work, but it's still a lot of money for something that still has the, still has the old couplings on it. But how much tooling would be needed to make the new bogie work on the old coach? Let me show you. This post has to be 1mm taller. That's it. We are not talking earth-shattering levels of retooling or new tooling or anything else like that. They literally just have to modify this post to be 1mm taller, and then they can use these. I wouldn't even be surprised, and to be clear, I'm not a model railway manufacturer. I'm not a manufacturer of any kind. I'm an IT nerd. But they would save the cost of having to make two separate sets of bogies, because these would now fit both this coach and the other coach that's in production this year. So they would be simplifying their inventory and making a lot more people able to buy this. Because the simple truth is, I'm actually really tempted to pick up the new coach. I don't have the accessories to make this work, which means that I can't actually use this as intended. Obviously, I will be able to buy spares now that this is coming back into production, but I would have replaced this with a whole new one if it had NEM couplings, because I could fit my usual KDs and I could run it. I have no way to couple to this. And because this is welded on, this is difficult to convert. This is going to be useless to me. And in fact, all it's offering is a slightly fancier paint job versus the 1980s one. So, I hate to say it, but yeah, for £60, it's kind of a rip-off. So, should you still buy this or not buy this based on my recommendation? Well, ignore my recommendation, I'm a random YouTuber. But if you have lots of things with these couplings, go for it. It's no problem with it. It's going to be a beautiful piece of work. It's going to be wonderfully painted by the looks of the samples. But, you know, should you buy it unconditionally? No. This would be 100 times better model if they just swapped to these bogies. I can use KDs, I can use European couplers, I can use whatever I like, right? You know, magnetic couplers and all the other things people use. By using the older bogie, they've limited who can buy this to only people who use Hornby's standard coupling. And if it's a choice between this cute little model or changing all of my couplings to something that is objectively worse, nah. So, this is another little manifesto for Hornby. 1mm new bogie. Please, if not this year, then next year, but fix this coach. And that's that. Thank you for watching.